Good afternoon, ladies. Welcome to day 3, the final day of the challenge. I'm so sad about it. Hopefully, not hopefully, you guys did. I know you did. You guys have some great notes. You have some great notes that you can go and take action. You're just not going to sit on this information. You're just not like, oh, that was good. No, 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 no. You're going to take this and you're going to take action. This session is a really, 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 really important session. This session, we're going to focus on wealth strategy. You guys know I talk about a lot how the rich stays rich. They got secrets, y'all, that we don't know. And when I found out about this some years ago, my mind was blown. And I was always like, man, I wish I would have known this way back when my now 19-year-old was like 5. And so I want to make sure that you guys have this information and that you are thinking about this as you either start your entrepreneurship journey or you're on your way, or maybe you're even like in the middle or like wherever you are. If you didn't know this information, today is the day to start implementing, or if not today, tomorrow, this week, sometime soon. So, again, welcome to day 3. If you are on live, if you can drop some nuggets that you have had over the past 2 days now that you are just like, you know what, that was good, or I didn't know that and I'm about to go implement it. So just give us something that, just stuck to you, stuck in your mind, and you're going to take action to it. So go ahead at the bottom, go ahead and type that in there. And if you are watching the replay, you can do that too. Just type replay and then give us some nuggets that you learned. So today, for this session, like I said, we're focusing on wealth strategy. I would like to introduce to you guys Ola. So, Ola, if you can go ahead and tell the ladies a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do.
All right. Hello, ladies. And I am so excited to be a part of Boss Lady University for this challenge. So to tell you a little bit about me, my name is OMORINSOLA, but you could call me Ola because that's easier. Summers. And I've been in the life and financial service industry for 13 years. And being in that industry, you find out a lot about how the rich stay rich, right? As Boss Lady just told us. And so, with that being said, I'm also a mother of 4 and I'm a wife. And I just really pride myself on helping the community, right, to understand what it is to build out that legacy. So, the name of our agency is called Borrow Legacies, and our mission is to help people create legacies.
Awesome. Awesome. So we're going to talk about a few things, but the first thing I want to hit on and guys, don't zone out. Okay. Don't zone. Cause this is serious, but also serious because you need this. Okay. So we're going to talk about really quick, the importance of health insurance. And then we're going to walk into life insurance. So when you are an entrepreneur, first of all, you don't have a boss that's gonna or a job that's gonna provide insurance for you anymore. More than likely, you're gonna be making too much money to be able to get health insurance from the state. So where do we go for health insurance? So Ola, if you could tell the ladies who are entrepreneurs, let's just say even 100% entrepreneurs,
Yep.
what does it look like to go get health insurance? Where should we
So,
start?
Yep. So the interesting thing about insurance, let's start there. It's not a dirty word. A lot of times people shy away from insurance because they really don't understand it, right? And so when I launched into entrepreneurship, I did not know anything about health insurance, right? So they have all these terms like Cobra, and you can do this, you can do that. Well, all of that was able to get thrown out of the window when President Obama came into office, and he created something called the Affordable Care Act. So it was not called Obamacare as we like to term it. It's called the Affordable Care Act. And so what the Affordable Care Act did is it took away all of the pre-existing conditions. So a person that has cancer can still get insurance as well as a healthy individual. right? And so even though it took away those pre-existing conditions, what it also did was it created a common place through the government where you could literally go into the portal, you put in your zip codes, you put in your income, you put in your household size, and then it shoots you out a quote, right? The beautiful thing about the Affordable Care Act is depending upon your income as well as your household size, that's determining how much the government will give you towards paying your health insurance premium. Now, with entrepreneurship, it can get a little bit challenging depending on how much you make, right? Because, of course, the more money you make, the less help that you get, right?
Now,
And
one
so,
quick question on that, really
yeah,
quick, because you talk about how much we bring in. Now, do they look at our taxes? Because we know that, let's say we make $100,000 gross, but then we're really savvy, and these ladies got my Tax 101 book, and they're getting all those deductions. And let's say they go from $100,000 in gross to, let's say, 50,000 net. Which number does the insurance companies look at?
that 50,000, which is beautiful. So I'm glad that you talked about those tax deductions. And so what they will ask for as being an entrepreneur is they may ask you for your tax return if you don't actually cut yourself a check. And so they are going to be looking at that 50,000 versus that 100,000, because just because you make that, like just with businesses, just because you make that does not mean that's what you have, as far as your take home, because you got bills and all of those kind of stuff,
Yes, you got
those expenses.
employees.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah.
got those expenses. So yep, so they will go off of that 50,000. So it's that after tax dollars that they will go off of when it comes to entrepreneurs. And then the other thing I was going to say is for our entrepreneurs that actually have employees, they do have a portal that you can personally go to if you have more than 2 employees, and you can look at group coverage. But a lot of people do not take advantage as entrepreneurs of that group coverage because it's going to be less expensive to go just as an individual through the healthcare.gov portal.
Now, here's real quick a strategy just through the conversation I just thought of. So I talk a lot about to women who are, going over that hurdle, or that, from LLC to S corp, right? And when you become an S corp, you then become an employee. And then some of the strategy with being an S corp is to then hire your spouse or to hire your kid who is over 18, because, over yeah, I'm learning a lot about now that Imani is 19, it's a whole different world. So now they're employees. And so then as a S corp, you can look into group insurance and provide, instead of getting 3 individual, because with Imani being 19, still in college, still a dependent, then can we look at group insurance that way to be more affordable for the family?
That's a great question. So they do, it can be a little tricky, right? So when you have a family that's looking at the group health insurance, right? The great thing about insurance is that you can write it off 100% being an entrepreneur because it's an expense, right? But
Exactly.
with a husband and wife team, you have to have another employee outside of the family in order for it to qualify as group. So
Okay.
if it's the husband and wife and then say you got your sister in there, then yep, you could get group coverage. But if it's the husband and wife and the children, they wouldn't count that as group because that's still one family entity.
Got you. Well, I just hired my mom, so
There you go. So yep, that's a group right there. That's a
yeah,
group.
she live in a whole different state too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a
Okay,
group.
awesome. Okay. So yeah, so looking into either personal or group. Okay, so they come to somebody like is it called an insurance broker or?
Yep. We're real car brokers. Yep.
Okay, so they come to an insurance broker and they come with their taxes and they say, I need health insurance for myself. And here's a funny thing too, because I didn't really know about health insurance per se as a like growing up. And then we watched John Q, right? And then it's like, you know what? I need PPO. Like, I don't want anything else. Like, oh, I need that. So how do you, as the insurance broker, kind of navigate someone who knows nothing about insurance on how to pick the best insurance for them?
So what we do is we do these questions, right? They're called fact-finding questions because when you come to me as an entrepreneur, I don't know like how you have your business set up. I don't know how your family is set up. And so I'm literally asking you these questions. So I'm asking, what's your household size? What's your income? Is there a particular network that you currently have? Is there a doctor that you want to see? Do you have specialists? What kind of medications are you on? How often do you go to the doctor? So when I'm asking all these questions, that literally helps me to narrow down what network I should be looking at for you. Now with the Affordable Care Act, another thing that it did do is it opened up for everybody to get health insurance, but it did limit some of the networks. And so it's where you can only go to like 2 networks at a time with some health insurance plan versus if there were 4 networks within your city. And so I always tell my clients, I'm like, hey, make sure that you have whatever your primary doctor, because some people have been with their doctor for 10 plus years and they like, I'm never leaving this doctor.
Yeah.
Well, let's make sure that this doctor is in network under this particular plan, because if they're not, you won't be able to use them. Or if you do use them, guess what? You're going to have to pay out of network fees, which nobody wants to pay that because health insurance can already be, up there already. So you don't want to have to do that.
Now, is that a tax deduction?
It is.
Mm-hmm.
It is. It is a tax deduction.
You guys hear that? It's a tax deduction. It's one of those write-offs that take you from that $100,000 to the $50,000. And everybody, well, I can't say everybody, but everybody should have health insurance to where other people or W-2 workers, they pay out of their paycheck. That's not a tax deduction. But you as an entrepreneur, tax deduction.
Tax deduction because it's a business expense.
Yep. All right. So, ladies, if you need help with health insurance, do you work in other states outside of Wisconsin?
I do. So I'm actually licensed to work in Georgia as well as Texas. I'm licensed in Tennessee and Arizona.
All right. So ladies, if you are in need of health insurance, or even not like right now, if you're still working your job and sometime in the future, you're going to be switching over to 100% entrepreneur, before you do that switch, make sure you contact Ola or someone that can service your state and start getting that information before you make the jump. Because again, the last thing you want to do is to be working your business and you're doing good and you did not cover the biggest asset, yourself.
Come on.
Yes, when you are the business owner and you're building it and you're on all those roles, when you go down, operations stop. Who's taking care of the business? Who's bringing in the money for you? You know what I mean? So make sure you cover yourself. You are the biggest asset for your business. Health insurance is essential. Now let's take a small little pivot. It's not really, a huge pivot, but let's talk about life insurance.
All right.
And of course, again, this is about taking care of the biggest asset, you. We don't want to see business owners with GoFundMes because they didn't have life insurance but this is how, through life insurance, the wealthy stay rich. So if you can tell the ladies a little bit about the 3 options, is it 3? The 3 options when it comes to life insurance.
So life insurance, the one thing that I just want to let you guys know is when you get life insurance, it's more than a policy. It's literally a legacy, right? Because I think a lot of times in our community, life insurance is looked at as, oh, let me just have the funeral services and put me in the ground. No, especially when you're in entrepreneurship, you want to make sure that, God forbid, if something was to happen to you, even prematurely, your business can still live on after you, right? That's the whole point of life insurance, taking care of the needs that are essential at that moment, but then what is the hereafter? What's that aftercare piece look like? So we have 3 different types of policies that one can opt into. So the first one we have is term. So it sounds exactly like it sounds, right? It works exactly like it sounds. So it's either 10, 15, 20, or 30 years. Okay, 10, 15, 20, or 30-year term. Now, the way a term works is for those amount of years, you will have coverage. And then once those years are up, the coverage expires. So you are no longer covered. So a lot of people look at me and they're like, that absolutely makes no sense. Why would I pay into a policy for 30 years and then I no longer have coverage? It absolutely makes sense because as we age and as we have seasons in life, our finances change. And so a person that usually opts into a term policy, they may have a 30-year mortgage, they may have children under the age of 18. And so basically, insurance is an income replacement. So if you were ever to leave this earth prematurely, it's going to be replacing that income that you brought into the household. So in order to be adequately covered, they say that you need to have at least 10 times the amount of your income. So if you're making 20,000 a year, then you need to have at least a $200,000 policy.
And just really quick, I'm gonna touch more. We're not gonna touch too much on this in this session, but if you join the mentorship, you're definitely gonna learn about this. There is a strategy for gaining wealth. And I can't remember right now off the top of my head what it's called. However, I do know it revolves around buying property, maxing, taking the equity out the property. This is like when you're older, taking the equity out your property, getting a term insurance policy for the mortgage or to pay off the entire house, however much that house is, so that then when you die, that money goes to your kids. They pay off the whole entire house, and now they have property left to them with no mortgage or no anything. They can do whatever they want with it. So you pulled out the money from the house and you lived off of it, the equity, and then you paid it off when you passed. So that's one of those strategies where, again, what the wealthy do to live off of other people's money.
That's it. That is it. So we address term, right? So the next type of policy we have is called a whole life, exactly as it sounds. It's for the duration of your whole life until you transition, right? So with the whole life, the beautiful thing about a whole life is it actually builds cash, right, in the policy that you can borrow from. And so the way that the cash works for most whole life is they let you have what are called dividends that's on top of your premium payment, right? And so the dividends are put into your policy depending on how the company performs over time. And so however that company is performing in the stock market, they usually will send you some type of notification at the end of the year to say, hey, this is how much interest your policy gained. And so I always let clients know that whenever you are building money in these whole life policies, it shouldn't be a give and take. Just because you got extra money in there doesn't mean that you should go in and say, hey, I got this extra money. No, the greatest what they say, the eighth wonder of the world is compound interest. And so as that interest begins to compound, you're like, wow, I didn't know my policy was worth this much, because you are letting that wealth accumulate.
Yes. So in the quick two things off of that whole life. I'm not an insurance broker. I just learned about these things some years ago, right? So some of the terminology I'm not 100% sure of, but if you can really quick tell them, because again, this is one of those building legacy moments. I talk a lot about hiring your kids. And then let's say you pay $500 to, like, let's use Cameron as an example. He's 9 now, and I pay him $500 a month. And now I don't really pay him 100% $500, but let's say it goes into his bank account. You could take a portion of that and put that into his whole life insurance, because you have to be like 18 to get term, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So with him being 9, you can put that portion of that into his whole life policy. What is the one that's called after, I think, 20 years? So you're putting that money in there every month, $500, $500, $500 for 20 years. And then after 20 years, you can stop making that payment and it's still using compounding interest. It's
all right, you've been doing your research. You got it. You got it down. Come on here. You better come on. I'm just gonna let me just step out of the camera because you got it. No, but yeah,
so
you got it.
What is that? Because I know you have to be, again, a certain age to really make that worth it.
Yeah, right. So the paid up whole life. And so usually when we do have something like that, with people that just want to say, hey, I want to just pay on this for my child for 20 years and then it's out of sight, out of mind, I don't have to worry about it. So it's called a paid up whole life insurance policy. Mm-hmm. And what you were referring to is overfunding the policy. So
Yes.
you're able to overfund that policy so that it's actually accumulating. And so that when Cameron comes of age, if he ever needs to borrow against it, he'll still have his basic insurance
Yes.
amount. And then on top of that, he can go buy a home, or he can start a business, or he can pay
Mhm.
for college. So
Right.
that's
And
how
you
that
can use it to buy a home. Like y'all ever see again the HGTV where they go and they looking at these big houses and you, how can they, what you do? You a teacher. How you, they got stuff like this that
yeah.
we didn't know anything about. We just
And they started it at a young age, like you said. So
absolutely
I know with my children, as soon as they were born, I went ahead and I put a policy on them. And I know a lot of times in our community, they like, you're jinxing. You shouldn't get life insurance on your kid at that young age. No, you should, because
right.
guess what? I'm helping to secure their legacy and secure their future. God forbid if anything was happen, nobody wants to lose their child, but it gives you adequate amount of protection. God forbid if something was to happen, and then it's a blessing for them when they're older so that they can borrow money from the policy and don't have to be in your pockets.
Yeah. So this right here, ladies, is we talk a lot about we want to have a legacy. We want to have a legacy for our kids. And those words are great, but it means nothing if they stay words. It means nothing. So this right here is part of the strategy that you guys can take action and do something to really create leave a legacy for your kids and your kids' kids. So okay,
Okay,
so we talked
love
about
it.
whole term insurance. We talk about term insurance, whole life, or whole not term, whole insurance, and then there's one more.
It's one more. And then before I get to universal life, which is the last type of coverage, I want to also talk about on all of these policies. They brought out something in the 90s, which is called living benefits, which is so important now because this is another wealth strategy, right? You never know what can happen to you when it comes to your health. God forbid if you are an entrepreneur and you're the breadwinner, you're bringing this money in, and you get diagnosed with a heart attack or you get diagnosed with cancer or anything like that. That's definitely life altering, right? And so, built into these policies, they have what are called living benefits. So, it's critical illness, chronic illness, and terminal illness. So, that means, God forbid, if anything was to happen to you that falls in those categories of heart attack, stroke, cancer, you could actually use that life insurance money while you're still living. Okay. You that's a strategy. Using it while you're still living so then you don't have to file bankruptcy, you don't have to get into all of these debts, things like that when it comes to health, right? And so that is another thing that the health, I'm sorry, the life insurance companies added just to be that extra cushion when it comes to the
You know,
benefits
it's not all
there.
bad. They're not all the enemy. There's benefits
Exactly.
there. You gotta, if you use this right, there are benefits to having such things. Yeah.
Yes. So
All right.
now we're going to get into the universal life,
Now,
right?
and
So
then
the
this one is new to me, the universal life. I just learned about this one, I believe, this year.
Okay, so the universal life came into the scenes in the 80s. So we have the term, right? So the term is for a certain period of time and then the coverage expires. Then you have the whole life is the duration of your whole life, right? That's building up the cash. Well, a lot of people say, I don't want to pay for something where it's going to term out. And then people say, I don't want to pay on something my whole life. And so they said, what can we do to be creative? And that's when universal life came on the scene. So literally a universal life has the options where you can do a certain amount of years of payments. Like Boss Lady was saying, if you only want to pay on it for 20 years, 40 years, whatever amount of years, you can overfund the policy, right? So you're securing your death benefit. You're building up cash in the policy that you're able to borrow from. And so that's how the universal life works. And the other great thing about the universal life is it has flexible premiums, right? So, say for instance, in entrepreneurship, we may fall on hard times. So, say I wrote you a policy where it was $500 a month. And then you're like, man, I had a real bad year. 2020, right? Let's take
Yeah,
2020 when the
2020.
pandemic hit,
Yeah.
right? And you're like, man, I just can't afford $500 a month. I can't let this life insurance policy go. It's the protection that I need. So now we're able to alter that payment where you only have to pay $250 a month and you can still keep that policy intact. So that's how the universal life works, where it has those flexibility as well as building the cash, and then you have the set amount of years that you can opt to pay into the policy.
Awesome. That sounds okay. So I know, ladies, this sounds like a lot, right? For me, for the first couple of years when I learned this information, it was like, oh, that's great. I didn't take action. I still didn't take action. I knew about it. It was something that sounded great. It wasn't until I actually sat down with a financial advisor and he actually showed me numbers and he had like a little template and he was like, okay, and this, he used Cameron as an example and with the 20-year thing. And he was like, $500, like for 20 years. And then like by the time Cameron retire, he could be sitting on, millions from me, not even from what he learned from me, for him to do on his own and for his kids, he would be sitting on that from me. So take this information, apply it, and it's best to go and talk to someone like Ola to really get a firm understanding on your situation and how it can work for you, because there's strategy here. There is strategy here, and you don't want to miss it.
Yep.
So, Ola, if they want to reach out to you, how can they contact you?
So you can contact me several ways. You can visit our Facebook page, which is Bara, that's BARA Legacies. You can visit our website, which is baralegacies.com. And then you can also contact me at 414-322-7057. So that's the Wisconsin area code. Once again, 414-322-7057.
Oh, you like phone calls?
Listen.
Like, email me.
Email is so interesting, but because you can text and everything. So if I answer, you can text and we can go that way too.
All right, that's awesome. So, ladies, again, I'm always preaching, don't just sit on this information. This whole entire challenge, Girl Get Your Business Right, is about you creating that foundation, using this information to, get your business right, first of all, and also implement in these strategies to help you save money and make money. So, you guys all heard about the mentorship yesterday. If you are still interested in the mentorship, the link is still, I'll post the link. We actually have 5 spots left. Five spots left, and I want you to be in the mentorship program. So mentorship start in August. The deadline to even sign up, if you're thinking about it, is Friday. So make sure you are a part. Come learn more strategies. Come learn more about passive income, more about multiple streams of income. Learn how to work smarter, not harder. This wealth strategy right here, no work involved. I don't have to work 9 to 5. I don't have to go build a house. I don't have to. No, this is smarter, not harder money. All right. So thank you guys so much. And I will see you guys again tonight for our final session. And we're going to be talking about commercial insurance, making sure that your business is also insured. So, bye.